in a quiet village in the heart of Africa, where the wind whispered through the trees and every shadow carried a story, there lived three young men named Tunde, Emeka, and Sadiq, who were tired of poverty and desperate to become rich by any means necessary. Because while others in the village worked hard in the farms under the burning sun, these three friends spent their days complaining about their struggles and dreaming of a fast way to wealth, believing that life had been unfair to them and that they deserved more without going through the suffering that others endured. And one evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon and darkness slowly covered the land, they sat under a large tree and made a dangerous decision that would change their lives forever. Deciding that they would seek out a powerful native doctor deep in the forbidden forest. A man rumored to possess ancient spiritual powers capable of granting wealth instantly, but at a cost that no one truly understood. The villagers had always warned them about this native doctor, telling stories of people who went into the forest seeking riches but never returned the same, some disappearing completely, while others came back with strange behaviors, haunted eyes, and lives filled with unexplainable suffering. But Tunde, Emeka, and Sadiq laughed off these warnings, convinced that those stories were meant to scare the weak, and that they were different, smarter, and ready to take control of their destiny. So without informing anyone, they set out that very night, walking into the dark forest, where even the air felt heavy, and every step echoed like a warning from the spirits of the land. As they walked deeper into the forest, the sounds of insects grew louder, and the path became harder to see, until they finally arrived at a small, eerie hut surrounded by strange symbols drawn on the ground. And before they could knock, the door creaked open slowly, as if it had been expecting them, revealing the native doctor, an old man with piercing eyes that seemed to look directly into their souls. And without saying a word, he motioned for them to enter. And as they stepped inside, they felt a chill run down their spines. But their desire for wealth was stronger than their fear. The native doctor finally spoke in a calm but unsettling voice, asking them why they had come. And Tunde, being the boldest, explained that they wanted wealth, power, and a life free from suffering. And the old man listened carefully before nodding slowly, telling them that what they desired could indeed be granted, but that such power always comes with a price, a rule that must never be broken. And he warned them clearly that if they accepted his offer, they must follow his instructions exactly, without question, or face consequences beyond their imagination. Blinded by greed and excitement, the three friends quickly agreed, barely paying attention to the warning. And the native doctor gave them a small calabash filled with a strange glowing substance, instructing them to take it back to the village and pour it at the center of the marketplace at midnight. And as they performed the ritual, they must not look back, no matter what they hear, no matter what calls their names, no matter how real it sounds, because looking back would break the spiritual agreement and unleash a curse upon them. Without hesitation, they took the calabash and rushed back to the village, their hearts filled with anticipation. And as the clock struck midnight, they stood in the empty marketplace and poured the substance onto the ground. And instantly, a powerful wind began to blow, swirling around them as strange voices echoed through the darkness, calling their names, whispering secrets, and even sounding like their loved ones crying out for help. But they remembered the warning and tried to stay focused, although fear slowly began to creep into their minds. Then suddenly, Tunde heard his mother's voice screaming his name in pain, begging him to turn around and save her. And despite everything the native doctor had said, his emotions overpowered his judgment, and he turned around, and in that very moment, everything changed. The wind stopped abruptly, The voices disappeared, and an unnatural silence fell over the village, and Emeka and Sadiq, realizing what had just happened, felt a deep sense of dread settle in their hearts. At first, nothing seemed to happen, and they even laughed nervously, convincing themselves that maybe the warning had been exaggerated. But as the days passed, strange things began to occur. Money started appearing mysteriously in their homes, more than they had ever seen in their lives. And they celebrated, believing that the ritual had worked. But the joy was short-lived, because along with the wealth came darkness. Their health began to decline, their relationships fell apart, and they were haunted by terrifying visions every night. Tunde, who had turned back, suffered the most. As his body began to change in ways that defied explanation, his eyes growing hollow, his skin losing its color, and his behavior becoming more erratic with each passing day, until one morning he disappeared completely, leaving behind nothing but fear and unanswered questions, while Emeka and Sadiq tried to hold on to the wealth they had gained, but it brought them no peace, as every coin felt cursed and every moment was filled with regret. The villagers soon noticed the changes and began to whisper, realizing that the three friends had tampered with forces beyond their understanding, and despite their wealth, Emeka and Sadiq became outcasts, isolated and miserable, wishing they could go back and undo their decision. But it was too late, because some choices once made cannot be reversed. In the end, the story of Tunde, Emeka, and Sadiq became a powerful African folktale. A warning passed down from generation to generation, reminding everyone that the desire for quick wealth can lead to destruction, and that true success comes from patience, hard work, and integrity. Because when you try to take shortcuts in life, especially through dangerous and unknown paths, you may gain temporary rewards, but the consequences will always find you, and they will always be greater than the reward you thought you wanted. So the next time you find yourself wishing for a quick way out, remember this story. Remember the voices in the dark. Remember the rule that was broken, and remember that not every opportunity is a blessing, because some are tests, and failing them can cost you everything.